What's up brothers, this is OuweSok, and in this Battle Brothers video I want to be talking to you about two-handed weapons. I've taken the most important, most relevant two-handed weapons and took the stats from the wiki. So for the cleaver I took the rusty warblade, which is very comparable to the two-handed scimitar. Great axe, which is very comparable to the heavy rusty axe. The bardis, greatsword, two-handed mace, hammer and flail. So there's the damage done by these weapons, the armor, penetration, damage to the armor, the fatigue cost for carrying this weapon, the primary attack fatigue cost, which is 15 for all two-handed weapons, secondary attack fatigue cost, and any additional effects on the primary attack. So I've ordered them by the clean attack damage, the basic attack damage. So for the rusty warblade, you can hit twice, 60 to 80 damage, so an average of 70 times 2 is 140. Add to this the possibility of a headshot, and you get an average of 157.5 damage per turn. What kind of brother would you give a cleaver? Well, I'm going to write down very high fatigue. That's like the primary characteristics of a brother that is going to be wielding a two-handed cleaver. If you have not enough fatigue, you will be recovering too much, and that will be a turn that you're not hitting twice. And if this happens too much, then your let's say your damage per turn is going to drop below that of a normal 6 AP two-handed weapon. So you really want the absolute maximum fatigue for a brother like this. What I'm also going to write down for a cleaver bro is mediocre melee defense and high melee attack. Why do I write this down? Because if your brother has not a fantastic melee defense, you can fix that using a reach advantage. Hitting twice will give you plus 10 to your defensive values. That's also why you want really high melee attack, to make sure that your hits are hitting, that your attacks are hitting, and you get the plus 5 or plus 10 to defense, and have this, let's say, double effect of your attacks. If you have a brother with very high fatigue but also very good melee defense and very good melee attack, then maybe this brother is better off being a Mace duelist, for example, or an axe duelist. Duelists don't have this defensive, the defensive possibility of range, reach advantage. And if you have a very high fatigue bro with a high defense and not a very great melee attack, then maybe you make this brother a sword duelist, so you get the plus 10% for the attack values. So every time when you have a very high fatigue brother and you have various options available, then maybe you have to look at melee defense and melee attack before you decide what you're going to be building with this brother. Let's move on to the axes. So the great axe and the bardis have the highest single damage attack available in the game, the split man attack, which does 100% damage to one body part and an additional 50% damage to the other body part. So it's like 2 attacks. So the great axe will do 90 damage plus half of this is a total of 135 damage, with the side chance of also hitting the head. That will be then these values. The bodies is only a little bit below it. The bodies sounds like a fantastic option because it only does slightly less damage, and it has the option to hit 2 targets. But you have to consider that if you use the bodies for the split attack, for the one that attacks 2 targets, then you do 100% damage to 2 targets. So let's say a total of 200%. While the split man will do 150% damage. So it's only a slight increase in damage per turn for almost the double fatigue cost. So still a good option. So for example, if your primary target, if you think you can kill it with with just the standard 85 damage, then it's a good moment to use the double attack, the AoE. And otherwise you might be better off just hitting for split man at the primary target that you have. What kind of brother would you give a great axe? So first thing I would write down is very low fatigue. An axe guy will work perfectly when he has something like 30 fatigue, 30-ish fatigue after gear. The secondary attack of the great axe is just terrible. You will barely ever use it, maybe when you're having some fun against serpents or maybe some webnects, but in general you will only be using split man, which is only 12 AP. So you need only very few fatigue to be able to wield a great axe once every turn. The bardiche, I would say medium fatigue, so you can use the AoE attack anytime you think it's indicated in the situation. Another thing about axe brothers is because of the split man double attack, that works really well with the fearsome perk. So I would add to this high resolve. Brothers with high resolve will have more profit from using fearsome. So if anytime you have a low fatigue brother with high resolve, like your sword master or your retired soldier type of guys, then you should think of making them a fearsome great axe X-Men. That's about axes. Anything else? I don't think so. So the great sword does a lot of damage. So it's 85 to 100, so that's a 92.5 average. Plus 20 for the overhead strike, it makes 112.5. Add to this that they have 30% to hit the head, that makes for a total of this, which is very high. But unfortunately, the armor ignore and the armor damage are the lowest among all the two-handed weapons. So that makes great swords not that great against highly armored enemies. The reason to use great swords is really to abuse the AoEs of the great sword, which are the best in the game. So you have the choice between striking 3 or striking 2 opponents, 2 different AoEs. So anytime you build a great sword brother, you would like to have high fatigue, so that you can abuse the AoEs as much as possible. And another parameter or another profile characteristics of your brother could be that he has lowish melee attack, because of the extra 5% to the hit that you get from the greatsword. You might be able to fix a brother that has high fatigue, promising, but let's say 80-ish, between 80 and 90 melee attack at level 11. you might give him a great sword. Let's move on to the two-handed mace. I have a separate video about the two-handed mace because I think it's the best weapon in the game. It does an average of 85 damage, but the primary attack gets another additional 20, it makes it 105. And the possibility to also hit the head increases this to 118 approximately. And there's the daze effect, which is very, very useful to reduce the amount of damage that the opponent can do to you. This is explained in detail in the other video that I was referring to. You would almost always use the two-handed mace for its primary attack because it does much more damage. So instead of if you use the stun attack, instead of getting the plus 20 damage, the damage is halved. So instead of 105, which is corrected to 118 with the possibility of the headshots, it's reduced to like 42.5, so the half of this, maybe 50-ish with headshots. So that's really a reason to use the stun attack as few as possible, because the best thing you can do is as much damage as possible. A dead enemy is better than a dazed enemy. But still, sometimes you want to be able to stun, so I would say you want here for your mace brother a medium, low to medium fatigue. A little more than you would have for a great axe wielding brother. Another thing of the two-handed mace is because the daze protects the brother, protects his hit points, you can give the mace to a brother that has like lowish hit points. You'll get the extra protection from the daze, and you can get away with getting a little bit lower on the hit points for your brother. Next is the hammer. 60 to 90 damage, 75 average, plus 20 for the primary attack makes it about 95, with the possibility of headshot. It goes up to 107 almost. What kind of brother would you want to give a two-handed hammer? Well, it's again, I would say, high fatigue. The hammer has an excellent AoE, and you really want to be using that as often as possible, as often as you can. There's nothing more rewarding than hitting 3 orc warriors and do about 700 of armor damage with a single hit. So high fatigue to abuse the AoE. And also you can get away with a little lowish melee defense, because a two-handed hammer, you should like to give that brother reach advantage and be able to improve melee defense. That was the hammer. Let's go over to the flail. Lowest damage in the game of all the two-handed weapons, 45 to 50, which is an average of 67.5. But you get plus 15% to hit the head, so it makes it for a total of 40. That makes the amount of damage an average of 105, which is just below the two-handed hammer. What kind of brother would you give a two-handed flail? Well, again, the secondary attack is total crap, so you will barely be using it. So again, you can give this to a brother that has very low fatigue, and he will still be able to hit once every turn with the two-handed flail. I really like the two-handed flail, and you should not underestimate the damage it does, and the value of the ignore shield bonus. So I have here a little calculation. let's unhide this. So where we compare the damage done by the great axe with the damage done by a two-handed flail to a footman with a heater shield. So assume that your brother has an attack of 100, which is a god bro, which is very good. The footman has 10 melee defense, 20 from the heater shield, plus 5 for the heater for the shield expert. That's a total of 35. So your great axe brother has only 65% to hit this footman. 65% times 146 is an expected value of 95 damage per turn. Compare this to the two-handed flail. The attack will be 90% because you ignore the effect of the heater shield plus the shield expert, so that's 25% higher attack. And you see that you are just almost the same EV as the great axe. And if your brother is going to be like 80 attack, then the two-handed flail is going to produce better results than the great axe because you are going to produce much lesser misses. The footman with heater shield is kind of the worst case for this example. So that's like the best case scenario for the two-handed flail. Other enemies like Ancient Undead, for example, with their tower shields, also have shield expert, but they have a lower base melee defense, so it will be a little better for the great axe. And if you go to stuff like brigands who have 15 shields, no shield expert, it becomes better again for the great axe. And if you move to, let's say, orc warriors who have minus 10 melee defense and 15 shield, so an orc warrior that is not shield walling only has 5 melee defense with his shield, so that your 100 attack brother will have the maximum 95 actually. So if you want to abuse your two-handed flail, use it a lot against noble armies with the footmen, and maybe against the southern armies with their shields and shield walls. Then you will get most value out of your two-handed flail. So I like the two-handed flail just because of you get a lot more hits if you're up against shielded enemies. And if you're using a two-handed flail, make sure that you engage with the enemies that have shields, otherwise you're not playing properly. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about two-handed weapons. Do you agree with this? Are you looking at other characteristics of your brothers when you decide what kind of weapon you'll be giving to them? Of course, this is all based on, let's say, the vanilla weapons. What you're going to be building will depend highly on the famed items that you'll be getting. You'll be always trying to prepare for, you will be looking for a brother to wield the cleaver that you get from the icy cave. You should be able to get that before the first crisis, so you want to be looking for a cleaver bro as soon as possible. And what I often end up doing is build a cleaver bro with nimble, because you just don't find a brother that has enough fatigue to be battle forged and wield the two-handed cleaver very efficiently. But that's basically the only time that I will ever have an endgame bro that is nimble and two-handed and has a two-handed weapon. Okay, alright, so there's a little bit of math, a little bit of theory, but yeah, it helps you maybe to look at your brother, strip him naked, think what his stats will be at level 11, and then fit him to one of these profiles and determine what you think is the best weapon for this brother. Hope this was useful to you. Enjoy the game. See you later. Bye bye.